Hello, friends. Before we begin tonight's story, I want to say thank you for being here. If you're enjoying these real experiences from the road, it would mean a lot if you could hit that subscribe button. And please share your own highway encounters in the comments below. You'd be surprised how many of us have seen things we can't explain. By the way, where are you watching from tonight? Let me know down below. The load was a routine one. 40,000 pounds of industrial machine parts going from Seattle to Chicago. I'd been working on Interstate 90 for 15 years, knew every truck stop, every way station, every stretch of road where state troopers like to hide their radar guns. This road was as familiar to me as the driveway to my home in Spokane. That familiarity was probably why I noticed something was wrong. It was 2:17 a.m. when I entered Idaho. The Kenworth W900 was running smoothly, the engine humming its steady diesel rhythm like a heartbeat when you drive for a long time. The night was clear, the temperature around 32 degrees, and the highway stretched out before me like a black ribbon disappearing into nowhere. I'd passed the last truck stop about 40 miles back, decided to push through to the next one near Coeur d'Alene, maybe grab a few hours of sleep before the final push across Montana. Traffic was non-existent at this hour, just me and the occasional set of headlights, going the opposite direction, passing like ships in the night. That's when I first saw them in my mirrors. Headlights. About a quarter mile back. Nothing unusual about that. But something made me keep watching. Maybe it was the way they appeared so suddenly. Like they'd been running dark and just switched on. Maybe it was the spacing between them, wider than a normal car, suggesting something bigger, an SUV or a truck. I watched those lights for the next 10 minutes. They maintained exactly the same distance, not gaining, not falling back, just there, constant, like a shadow that had learned to drive. Most drivers would tell you this happens all the time. Someone gets on the highway, sets their cruise control, and ends up pacing you for miles. It's coincidence, nothing more. But 15 years on the road teaches you to read patterns, teaches you when something's off. These lights were off. I eased my speed down from 70 to 65. The lights slowed too, maintained that exact same distance. I brought it back up to 72. They matched me perfectly, not closing the gap to pass, not falling back to create distance. Just there, watching. The CB radio crackled with static. This stretch of I-90 was pretty dead at night. Most drivers were either sleeping or on different routes. I picked up the handset anyway. Breaker, breaker, this is Rolling Thunder eastbound on 90 near milepost 47. Anyone out there running dark behind me? Static, then a voice, faint and weathered. Rolling Thunder, this is Desert Dog. I'm about 20 miles west of you. What's your situation? Got a vehicle pacing me for the last 15 minutes. Maintaining distance, not trying to pass. You see anybody else out here tonight? There was a pause. Longer than normal radio delay. Negative, Rolling Thunder, been a ghost town out here for the last hour. You sure you got company? I checked my mirrors again. The lights were still there. Steady, unwavering. Yeah, I got company. Black SUV, I think. Can't make out details at this distance. Huh. Desert Dog's voice had changed. Become more careful. You running that stretch near the Idaho-Montana border? Coming up on it, yeah. Why? Another pause. Just keep your eyes open, brother. Had a driver last month talking about something similar. Said a vehicle followed him for over 100 miles on that same stretch. Never tried to pass. Never broke off. Just followed. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. What happened? Lost radio contact with him near the state line. Highway patrol found his truck 3 hours later at a rest stop. Empty. Keys in the ignition. Engine still running. Driver was gone. The static seemed louder suddenly. They find him? 2 days later, walking along a service road about 15 miles from where his truck was found. Said he didn't remember anything after pulling into the rest stop. Thought maybe 15 minutes had passed. Turned out it was 48 hours. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. You're saying this, SUV? I'm not saying anything, Rolling Thunder, just telling you what I heard. You keep that radio on and you call out if anything changes. I'm about 30 minutes behind you. Can push it if you need backup. Copy that, Desert Dog. Appreciate it. I hung up the handset and checked my mirrors again. The lights were closer now. Not by much, maybe 50 yards gained. But they'd been maintaining perfect distance for 20 minutes. This change was deliberate. The highway curved ahead, winding through a section of forest where the trees pressed close to the road. My headlights caught the reflectors on the guardrails, flashing past in rhythmic intervals. In the darkness beyond, I could see nothing but the solid wall of pines. The lights behind me suddenly went out, not like they'd turned off, like they'd been swallowed. 1 second they were there, the next, just darkness. I watched my mirrors, waiting for them to reappear around the curve. 5 seconds, 10, 20, nothing. I eased off the accelerator, letting my speed drop to 60. My eyes moved constantly between the road ahead and the mirrors. The highway behind me remained empty, dark. Then I saw it. Not in my mirrors, in my peripheral vision, through the passenger window. Running parallel to me about 100 yards off the highway, moving through the trees. No lights now, but I could see the shape of it, darker than the darkness around it, keeping pace with my truck. That's when I knew this wasn't random. Whatever was out there, it had been following me with lights on to let me know it was there. Now it had gone dark to let me know it could disappear whenever it wanted. I grabbed the CB again. Desert Dog, this is Rolling Thunder. Situation's changed. Vehicle went dark about 2 minutes ago. Now I got something running parallel through the trees. The static was worse now, heavy and broken. Through the interference, I could barely make out Desert Dog's response. Old tunnel. 3 miles. Don't stop. Say again, Desert Dog. You're breaking up. Unnil. Stay in, not stop. The CB died completely. I flipped through channels, got nothing but dead air on all of them. I was on my own. The shape in the trees was getting closer. I could see it more clearly now against the snow that hadn't melted from the last storm. Dark. Massive. Moving impossibly fast for something navigating through dense forest. I pressed down on the accelerator. The Kenworth responded, engine growling as we climbed toward 75, then 80. The posted limit was 70, but I didn't care. Something was very wrong, and every instinct I had was screaming at me to get the hell out of this area. The shape matched my speed, still parallel, still getting closer. It would clear the tree line in less than a minute at this rate. That's when I saw the tunnel entrance ahead. Old concrete structure cutting through a hillside. Built back in the 50s when they first put this highway through. I'd driven through it hundreds of times, never gave it a second thought. Now it looked like salvation. The tunnel was maybe half a mile long. Straight shot. If I could make it through, maybe I could put some distance between me and whatever was out there. Maybe the state line was close enough that I could find help. But then I remembered what Desert Dog had tried to tell me, something about the tunnel, a warning that had been cut off by the static. I was running out of time. The shape had reached the edge of the tree line. In my side mirror, I caught a glimpse of it as it emerged onto the shoulder of the highway. Dark SUV, just like I'd thought. But something about it was wrong. The proportions were off. Too wide, too low, and the way it moved wasn't quite right, like it was gliding rather than driving. The tunnel mouth yawned ahead of me. 70 yards, 60, 50. The SUV accelerated hard. It wasn't trying to pace me anymore. It was trying to catch me. I mashed the accelerator to the floor. The Kenworth wasn't built for speed, but she could move when she needed to. We hit 85 as we crossed into the tunnel. The overhead lights flickered past in rapid succession, creating a strobe effect that made it hard to focus. In my mirrors, I saw the SUV enter the tunnel behind me. It was close now, maybe 30 yards. And in the artificial light of the tunnel, I could finally see it clearly. The vehicle was wrong, completely wrong. The windows were too dark, not tinted but black, like they absorbed light instead of reflecting it. The body panels didn't reflect the tunnel lights the way metal should, and the front grille looked less like chrome and more like something organic, like teeth. I kept my foot down, eyes forward, praying I'd make it to the other end. The tunnel seemed longer than I remembered, much longer. The lights kept strobing past, and the sound of my engine echoed off the concrete walls in a way that sounded almost like screaming. The SUV was 20 yards back, then 15. I could see something moving behind those black windows now. Shapes, multiple shapes, more than should fit in a vehicle that size. 10 yards. The end of the tunnel appeared ahead. Blessed darkness beyond it that meant open highway and freedom. I focused on that circle of night, willing my truck to move faster. 5 yards. The SUV's front end was almost touching my rear doors. I could hear something over the engine noise, a sound like metal scraping concrete, or maybe something else, something that shouldn't come from a vehicle. Then we burst out of the tunnel into the night and everything changed. The SUV was gone. Not behind me, not beside me. Just gone. I checked all my mirrors, craned my head around to look through the sleeper compartment window. Nothing. The highway behind me was completely empty. I eased off the accelerator, let my speed drop back to 70. My hands were shaking on the wheel. My shirt was soaked with sweat despite the cold night air. A green sign flashed past. Montana state line, 2 miles. I'd made it across Idaho. Whatever had been following me had stayed behind. Or so I thought. I should have stopped. Should have pulled into the first truck stop I saw and called it a night. Let my heart rate come down, let my hands stop shaking. Maybe call the highway patrol and report what I'd seen, even if I couldn't explain it in any way that made sense. But I didn't stop. Something told me that stopping was exactly what I shouldn't do. The Montana welcome sign passed by on my right. The highway stretched ahead, emptier somehow than the Idaho section had been, like I'd crossed into a different world entirely. The mountains rose up on either side, dark shapes against the slightly less dark sky. My CB was still dead. I tried the radio, got nothing but static on every station. Even the truck's satellite phone showed no signal, which shouldn't have been possible. Those things worked anywhere. I was completely alone out here. The mile markers ticked past. 1, 2, 3. My speed held steady at 70. The engine sounded different now, though I couldn't say exactly how. Just off, like it was working harder than it should be on this flat stretch of highway. At mile marker 7, I saw the rest stop sign. Next rest area 2 miles. I'd stopped there before. Clean facilities, good lighting, usually a few trucks parked overnight. Right now, it sounded like the worst idea in the world. But I needed to check my load, needed to make sure whatever happened in that tunnel hadn't somehow damaged my cargo or trailer. That SUV had been close enough to touch my rear doors. I took the exit, immediately regretting it as the ramp curved away from the highway. The rest stop sat about a quarter-mile off the interstate, tucked into a small valley. From the exit ramp, I could see it below. Lights on. Empty parking lot. Completely empty. At 2:45 in the morning, there should have been at least a couple of trucks. This rest stop was a popular overnight spot, but the lot was deserted. Not a single vehicle in sight. I almost turned around, almost hit the brakes and backed up the exit ramp to get back on the highway. But I'd already committed. The Kenworth was rolling down the ramp, and the parking lot was ahead. I pulled into the truck section, positioned the rig under one of the overhead lights, and set the brakes. Left the engine running, every light on my truck blazing. I grabbed my heavy mag light and climbed down from the cab. The night air hit me like a physical thing. Too cold for early December. Too still. No wind at all, which was strange for this area. The mountains usually created wind patterns that kept the air moving. I walked around to the back of the trailer, checking the doors. They were secure. No damage, no scratches. I checked the seals. Intact. Whatever that SUV had been doing, it hadn't actually made contact. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. I was about to climb back in the cab when I saw the patrol car. It was parked on the far side of the rest stop, near the restrooms, facing away from me, lights off. I hadn't noticed it before because it was outside the range of the overhead lights, sitting in a pool of shadow. Montana Highway Patrol, white with gold striping, unit number visible on the trunk, 847. I walked toward it, mag light in hand, every instinct screaming at me to get back in my truck and leave. But if there was a trooper here, maybe they had a working radio. Maybe they could call this in, get some backup out here. The patrol car's driver door was open, not hanging loose, but open about 6 inches, like someone had started to get out and changed their mind. "Hello?" I called out. "Trooper, you okay?" No response, just that unnatural stillness. I reached the car and shined my light inside. Empty. Keys in the ignition. Engine off. The radio was on, but producing only static. The computer terminal between the seats was dark. On the passenger seat was a clipboard. I picked it up, angled my flashlight to read it. Incident report form, partially filled out. The handwriting was shaky, like it had been written in a moving vehicle. The date, tonight. Time, 2:18 a.m. Location, Interstate 90, eastbound. Mile marker 45, nature of incident, vehicle pursuit, black SUV, no plates, driver refusing to stop. Below that, in increasingly erratic handwriting, lost visual in tunnel. Vehicle vanished. Continuing search. And at the bottom, underlined 3 times. Something wrong with the vehicle. Wrong proportions, wrong movement. Request backup. The last line was incomplete, ending mid-word. Subject vehicle reappearing in mirrors. Not possible. That's where the writing stopped. I dropped the clipboard back on the seat and backed away from the patrol car. Trooper Harris. The name had been on the report. Deputy Shane Harris, badge number 2847. He'd been following the same SUV that had been following me. He'd seen it disappear in the tunnel, and then something had happened that made him stop writing mid-sentence. I turned to head back to my truck and froze. There were footprints in the frost on the pavement, leading from the patrol car to the restroom building. Recent. The frost around them was still disturbed, hadn't had time to settle. The restroom building was dark. The automatic lights that should have come on when someone approached were off. I should have left. Should have run back to my truck and gotten the hell out of there. But what if Deputy Harris was in there? What if he needed help? I followed the footprints. They led to the men's room entrance, then inside. I pushed the door open slowly, my flashlight cutting through the darkness. Deputy Harris, you in here? The footprints continued across the tile floor, past the sinks, past the urinals. Straight to the last stall, the door was closed. I walked forward slowly, my work boots echoing off the concrete walls. Deputy Harris? I'm Tom Rayner, long-haul driver. Found your patrol car outside. You okay? No answer. I pushed the stall door. It swung open easily, empty. No one there. But the footprints ended right in front of the toilet. Just stopped. Like whoever made them had simply ceased to exist. That's when I heard the sound. Behind me, footsteps. Not on the tile floor, but on the ceiling. Walking across the ceiling toward me. I spun around, flashlight up. Nothing there. But I could still hear them. Footsteps. Getting closer. And now there were more. Multiple sets. Walking on the walls, the ceiling surrounding me. I ran. Burst out of that restroom and sprinted across the parking lot to my truck. Behind me, I heard the restroom door slam open. Heard something that might have been footsteps, but moved wrong. Too fast. Too many at once. I reached my truck, yanked open the door, threw myself inside, slammed it shut, and hit the locks. My hands fumbled with the air brake release. The engine was still running. I threw it in gear and punched the accelerator. The Kenworth lurched forward, tires screaming. I didn't look back. Didn't want to see what might be coming out of that restroom. Just focused on the exit ramp ahead, the highway beyond. I hit the ramp doing 40, way too fast for the curve. The trailer swayed dangerously but held. Then I was back on I-90, heading east, putting distance between me and that rest stop. My CB crackled to life. Thunder, this is Desert Dog. Come in, Rolling Thunder. I grabbed the handset so fast I nearly dropped it. Desert Dog, this is Rolling Thunder. Where the hell have you been? I've been trying to raise you for the last half hour. Half hour? His voice was confused. Brother, we talked maybe 5 minutes ago, right before you hit that tunnel. I checked my clock. He was right. It was 2:51 a.m. I'd crossed into Montana at 2:43. The whole rest stop experience had felt like 20 minutes, but had taken less than 10. Desert Dog, I need you to listen carefully. There's a Montana Highway Patrol vehicle at the rest stop at mile marker 9. Unit 847, deputy named Harris, he's missing. You need to call this in. Slow down, Tom. What do you mean, missing? I told him everything. The SUV, the tunnel, the patrol car with the incomplete report, the footprints that ended in the restroom, the sounds on the ceiling. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then, Tom, I need you to keep driving. Don't stop until you hit Missoula. That's about 2 hours from your position. Find a truck stop with a lot of people, a lot of lights. Wait there until sunrise. What about Deputy Harris? I'll make the call, but Tom, that rest stop, it's been closed for 3 months. Renovation. There shouldn't be any lights on, shouldn't be anything there at all. The cold in my stomach turned to ice. I saw it, Desert Dog. I was there. The lights were on. I believe you saw something, brother. But whatever it wasn't that rest stop. I checked my mirrors. The highway behind me was empty. Dark. What's going on out here? Don't know, but you're the third driver this month to report something on that stretch. The other two made it to Missoula. Both quit driving the next day, sold their rigs, and walked away from the job. Did they say what they saw? One did, said he picked up a hitchhiker near the Idaho border. Woman in a highway patrol uniform said she needed a ride to the next town. He let her in his cab, drove for 20 minutes, making small talk. When he looked over to ask her a question, she was gone, just vanished from the passenger seat, but her seatbelt was still buckled. I felt my hands tighten on the wheel. And the other driver? Won't talk about it. Not to me, not to anyone. I've seen him at truck stops since then. He sees me coming, he turns and walks the other way. Whatever he experienced broke something in him. In my side mirror, I caught a flash of movement. Dark shape in the trees, running parallel to the highway again, keeping pace. Desert Dog, it's back. The SUV running through the trees like before. How far to Missoula? I checked my GPS. About in 90 miles. Can you make it? I pressed down on the accelerator, watched my speed climb. 75, 80, 85. The shape in the trees matched my speed effortlessly. I'm going to try. Keep this channel open. I'm about 40 miles behind you now, pushing hard. If anything happens, you call out. I'll find you. Copy that. The next hour was the longest of my life. The shape in the trees never left. Never got closer, never fell behind. Just there. Constant. Watching. I passed 2 more rest stops. Both were dark. Actually dark. Not lit up like the one I'd stopped at. Both had closed for renovation signs. I wondered if the one I'd stopped at had been closed too. If I'd somehow seen it the way it used to be. Or the way something wanted me to see it. The mile markers ticked past. 20, 30, 40. Missoula getting closer. The shape still paralleling me through the trees. At mile marker 67, something changed. The shape moved closer to the highway, close enough that I could see details in my headlights when it passed through clearings. It wasn't an SUV anymore. Couldn't be. The proportions were all wrong, too long, too low, moving on something that wasn't wheels, and there were lights inside it, not headlights. Lights inside the body of it, pulsing, organic. My CB crackled. Rolling thunder, this is Desert Dog. I'm at mile marker 35. Where are you? Mile marker 68. It's changing, Desert Dog. The thing following me, it's not a vehicle anymore. Stay calm, brother. Missoula is 20 miles ahead. You're going to make it. But then the thing did something I didn't expect. It cut through the trees and crossed onto the highway, not behind me, ahead of me, blocking the road. I slammed on the brakes. The Kenworth shuddered, trailer jackknifing slightly before the anti-lock system caught it. We slid to a stop about 50 yards from the thing. In my headlights, I could see it clearly now. It had been shaped like an SUV once. Maybe. But now it was something else. The metal panels were peeling back, revealing something underneath. Something that moved. Something that was looking at me. My CB. Tom? Tom, what's happening? I couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. The thing was walking toward my truck now, not rolling. Walking. On legs that unfolded from underneath it, legs that bent in too many places. And then I heard the voice, not through the CB, not through anything, just in my head. "We've been waiting for you, Tom. Waiting since you passed through our tunnel. Did you think you could just leave? That we would let you go?" The thing was 10 yards away. 5. "We showed you our rest stop. Our gift. A place between places. You could have stayed. Could have joined Deputy Harris and the others. But you ran." I threw the Kenworth in reverse. The transmission screamed but engaged. We started rolling backward, picking up speed. The thing reached out with something that might have been an arm. Touched the front of my truck. The engine died instantly. "You can't leave, Tom. You saw too much. Learned too much. And now you're ours." In my side mirror, I saw headlights approaching fast from behind. Desert Dog's rig. He was coming hard, probably doing 90. The thing turned its attention toward the approaching truck. Its arm thing retracted. And in that moment of distraction, my engine roared back to life. I didn't question it, just threw the truck in gear and punched it. The Kenworth lurched forward straight at the thing. It tried to move, but I was faster. 40,000 pounds of steel and cargo hit it at 40 miles per hour. The impact should have destroyed my truck. Should have triggered the airbags, shattered the windshield. Instead, the thing seemed to fold, like hitting a shadow, a resistance that gave way. And then I was through it, past it, accelerating east toward Missoula. In my mirrors, I saw Desert Dog's truck reach the spot where the thing had been. Saw his brake lights flare. Saw him swerve to avoid something I could no longer see. My CB. "Tom, what the hell was that?" "Keep driving, Desert Dog. Don't stop. Don't look back." "Copy that." We drove in convoy for the next 20 miles. 2 rigs running flat out through the Montana night. Behind us, the darkness seemed deeper than it should be, reaching for us. The lights of Missoula appeared ahead. Civilization, safety, witnesses, whatever that thing was, it didn't follow us into the city. As soon as we crossed into the urban area, the pressure lifted. The darkness became normal darkness again. We pulled into a 24-hour truck stop, parked side by side, and sat there for a long time without moving. Just breathing, still alive. Desert Dog was the first one out of his cab. I watched him through my window, a weathered man in his late 50s with a gray beard and the kind of walk that comes from 30 years behind a wheel. He stood by his truck for a moment, looking back west toward where we'd come from, then walked over to my passenger door and knocked. I unlocked it. He climbed in without asking, settling into the seat with a heavy sigh. "I saw it," he said simply. "When I came up on that spot where you hit it, I saw something in my headlights. Just for a second. Then it was gone." "What did you see?" He was quiet for a long moment, hands shaking slightly as he pulled a pack of cigarettes from his jacket pocket. "You mind?" "Go ahead." He lit up, took a long drag. Looked like a vehicle. SUV, maybe? But wrong. Like someone had taken the idea of an SUV and built it out of something that wasn't quite solid, wasn't quite real. He took another drag, and there were things inside it, shapes, moving. We sat in silence for a while, watching the truck stop's fluorescent lights flicker. A few other trucks were parked for the night, their drivers sleeping peacefully, unaware of what traveled the highways alongside them. "The rest stop," I finally said. "The one you said was closed. I was there, Dog. I saw it lit up. Found that patrol car, read Harris's report." "I know you did," he said. "Question is, did you actually go to the rest stop? Or did something make you think you did? The thought sent a chill down my spine. You mean like a hallucination? Not exactly. More like they showed you what they wanted you to see, lured you off the highway, got you isolated. If you'd stayed at that rest stop, if you'd gone looking for Deputy Harris. He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. What happened to him? I asked. The real Deputy Harris, is he actually missing? Desert Dog pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. I made some calls while I was driving. Talked to a dispatcher I know with Montana Highway Patrol. There was a Deputy Shane Harris, badge 2847. He went missing 6 weeks ago. Last known location was a rest stop at mile marker 9 on I-90. 6 weeks. Not tonight. 6 weeks ago. They found his patrol car 3 days later at that same rest stop. Empty, keys in the ignition. No sign of struggle. No sign of Harris. Search and rescue combed the area for a week. Nothing. Jesus, I whispered. Gets stranger. The computer logs from his patrol car showed his last data entry was at 2:18 a.m. Nature of call, suspicious vehicle pursuit. Black SUV, no plates. He logged that he'd lost visual in the old tunnel, was continuing search. Exactly what I'd read on that clipboard, word for word. They pulled security footage from the rest stop, Desert Dog continued. Want to know what it showed? I wasn't sure I did, but I nodded anyway. Harris's patrol car pulling in at 2:42 a.m. Driver door opens. No one gets out. Door stays open for exactly 7 minutes. Then it closes by itself. 3 hours later, maintenance crew arrives for their morning shift. Find the car, no Harris. But I saw footprints, I said, leading from his car to the restroom. I followed them. I believe you did. But those footprints were from 6 weeks ago, Tom. Or maybe they were never there at all. Maybe they were just another part of what that thing wanted you to see, wanted you to follow. I thought about those sounds on the ceiling. The footsteps walking on walls that shouldn't have been possible. If I'd stayed in that restroom, you'd be another missing person report, another truck found empty with the engine running. The cigarette burned down to the filter. Desert Dog stubbed it out in my ashtray. I've been driving these roads for 32 years. Started seeing strange things about a decade ago. Not often, maybe once, twice a year. But it's getting more frequent, more aggressive. What are they? He shook his head. Don't know. Nobody knows. I've talked to other drivers who've seen similar things. We got a whole network now, informal-like. We share stories, warn each other about hotspots. That stretch of I-90 between the Idaho border and Missoula is one of the worst. Why there? The tunnel, maybe. Something about that old tunnel. It was built in 1952, before they really understood what they were drilling through. Some of the old-timers say they hit something they shouldn't have, broke through into somewhere else. The official story is they ran into an unexpected cave system, had to reroute. But the workers who were there tell different stories. What kind of stories? Strange sounds from deep in the mountain, equipment that would malfunction for no reason, and workers who'd go into the tunnel to set charges and come out different. Quieter. Wrong somehow. 3 of them disappeared entirely, never found the bodies. I remembered the tunnel, those strobing lights, the sound of my engine echoing like screams. And they just finished building it? Opened it to traffic? This was the 50s, Tom. Cold War era. The interstate system was about military readiness, moving troops and equipment cross-country. They weren't about to shut down a major highway project because some workers had bad feelings about a tunnel. He paused. Plus, most of the workers who could have testified about what they saw They disappeared or died within 5 years of the tunnel opening. Car accidents mostly. Unexplained mechanical failures on lonely stretches of highway. The implication hung in the air between us. So what do we do? I asked. Report this? Tell someone what's happening out there? Desert Dog laughed, but there was no humor in it. Report it to who? Highway Patrol? They'd think we're crazy. Maybe drug tested, maybe have our CDLs pulled for psychological evaluation. I know a driver who tried reporting what he saw. Now he's got a note in his file about potential mental health issues, can't get hired anywhere decent. So we just keep quiet, let other drivers run that route, not knowing what's waiting? We warn the ones who'll listen, the ones in our network. Beyond that? He shrugged. What can we do? Most drivers wouldn't believe us anyway. Would think it's just truck stop stories, urban legends, until it happens to them. He climbed out of my cab then, stood in the parking lot looking up at the sky. Dawn was maybe an hour away, the eastern horizon just starting to show the barest hint of light. Get some sleep, Tom. Real sleep. You earned it. Tomorrow you'll wake up and wonder if any of this really happened. That's normal. Your brain trying to make sense of something it can't explain. He started walking back to his truck, then stopped. One more thing. When you get back to Seattle, you might want to consider changing your route. Take I-80 south, add some miles, but avoid that stretch entirely. I've been running I-90 for 15 years, I said. It's my route. He nodded slowly. I get it. But Tom, that thing knew your name, spoke it in your head. That means it marked you. You go back through there, it'll be waiting, and next time you might not be able to drive through it. He climbed into his cab and shut the door. A minute later, his engine fired up. He pulled out of the lot, heading back west, back toward that cursed stretch of highway. I sat in my truck and watched the sky lighten. Desert Dog was right about one thing. Part of me was already starting to doubt what I'd experienced, already trying to rationalize it, exhaustion, micro-sleep, hallucinations brought on by too many hours behind the wheel. But I knew better. I'd felt that thing touch my truck, heard its voice in my head, seen Deputy Harris's report with my own eyes. I pulled out my phone and did something I probably shouldn't have. Searched for Deputy Shane Harris, Montana Highway Patrol. Found his official memorial page. There was his photo, younger than I'd imagined, smiling in his dress uniform. Born 1978, joined Montana Highway Patrol in 2003, missing and presumed dead as of 6 weeks ago. Survived by his wife Rachel and 2 daughters, Emma and Sophie. Below his photo was a comment section where fellow officers and family members had left messages. I scrolled through them, reading tributes and memories. Then I found a comment from his wife, posted just 3 days ago. Shane, wherever you are, I hope you found peace. The girls miss you. I miss you, but I'm also angry. Angry that you were out there alone. Angry that whatever happened, it happened so fast, you couldn't even call for help. The official report says you abandoned your vehicle and walked into the wilderness, but I know you. You would never abandon your post. Never leave your car running like that. Something happened to you. Something they're not telling me. Something they won't investigate. I won't stop asking questions. I won't stop looking for answers. Love always, Rachel. I closed the browser and set my phone down. Rachel Harris deserved answers. Deserved to know what happened to her husband. But what could I tell her? That he'd been following the same impossible vehicle that had followed me? That he'd been lured to a rest stop that existed and didn't exist at the same time? That he'd walked into a restroom and vanished, his footprints ending in front of a toilet? She'd think I was insane. or worse, cruel, making up stories about her missing husband. But maybe there was something I could do. I pulled out my logbook and started writing everything that had happened, every detail I could remember: the black SUV, the tunnel, the rest stop, Deputy Harris's patrol car and his incomplete report, the thing that had blocked the road and spoken in my mind. When I finished, the sun was fully up. Truck stop was getting busy, drivers starting their days, getting coffee, checking loads. Normal routine. The world going on like always. I tore the pages from my logbook and folded them carefully. Put them in an envelope along with my contact information. Addressed it to Rachel Harris, in care of the Montana Highway Patrol. Maybe she'd read it and think I was crazy. Maybe she'd throw it away. But maybe, just maybe, it would give her a piece of the truth, a confirmation that her husband hadn't abandoned his post, that he'd encountered something beyond his control, beyond anyone's control. I mailed it from the truck stop's outgoing mail slot, then climbed back in my cab. The load still needed to get to Chicago. Life still needed to go on. I had a job to do. But as I pulled out of the Missoula truck stop and merged back onto I-90, heading east, I made a decision. This would be my last run on this route. 15 years of I-90 was enough. Next time I'd take I-80, add the miles, burn the extra fuel, but stay away from that tunnel and whatever lived in or around it. The highway stretched ahead, and the morning sun turned everything golden and normal and safe. Other trucks passed going both directions. Cars full of families heading to ordinary destinations. The world looking exactly like it always had. But I knew different now. Knew that things traveled these highways alongside us. Things that could make you see what they wanted you to see. Things that could reach out and kill your engine with a touch. Things that collected people who got too close, added them to whatever existed in that space between spaces. My CB crackled to life. Eastbound Kenworth at mile marker 112. This is westbound Freightliner. You got your ears on? I picked up the handset. This is eastbound Kenworth. Go ahead. Just wanted to give you a heads up, brother. Got some weather moving in behind you. Might want to make good time before it catches up. I checked my mirrors. The sky behind me was clear, blue and bright and perfect. Appreciate the warning, I said. Weather looks clear from my position, though. A pause. Might have misread my weather app, but hey, you can never be too careful out here. Strange things happen on these highways sometimes. You know what I mean? Something in his tone, a knowing quality, like he was part of the network Desert Dog had mentioned. Yeah, I said. I know exactly what you mean. Safe travels, brother. Keep your eyes open. And if you see anything weird, anything that doesn't feel right, don't stop. Just keep driving. Will do. Same to you. The Freightliner passed me going the other direction a minute later. The driver gave me a long look, a nod. Recognition of some shared knowledge. I settled in for the long haul to Chicago. The Kenworth hummed beneath me, reliable and steady. Miles clicking past. Towns and cities and empty stretches of highway. But now, every time I saw an abandoned vehicle on the shoulder, I wondered. Every rest stop I passed, I looked at differently. Every tunnel made my hands tighten on the wheel. Because I knew the truth now, the highways were full of things we didn't understand. Things that hunted and collected and existed in spaces between the real and the unreal. And somewhere back on that stretch, of a 90 near the Idaho-Montana border, Deputy Shane Harris was still missing, still trapped in whatever place between places that thing had taken him to, along with how many others. How many disappeared truckers, how many motorists who'd stopped at the wrong rest stop or driven through the wrong tunnel at the wrong time. I didn't have answers, just questions, and a growing list of routes I'd never drive again, places I'd never stop, stretches of highway that would remain on my personal blacklist for as long as I kept driving. The sun climbed higher, the miles rolled on. And behind me, back in Montana, that tunnel waited in its hillside, drilling through rock into somewhere else, waiting for the next driver who wouldn't heed the warnings, who'd think it was just a story, just truck stop legend, until they saw the black SUV in their mirrors, until they experienced what I'd experienced. Then they'd know. God help them. Then they'd know. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. These highways we drive every day, they're not as simple as they seem. There are things out there, things that use our infrastructure for purposes we can't understand. Be careful out there. Pay attention to what your instincts tell you. And if something ever feels wrong, deeply wrong, trust that feeling. Don't stop. Just keep driving. And please, if you found this story compelling, hit that subscribe button. Share your own highway experiences in the comments. You'd be surprised how many of us have seen things we can't explain. Until next time, drive safe.